You're listening to WZRD Chicago, 88.3 FM on your radio dial. And this afternoon, we have a big treat for you here at WZRD, the home of freeform radio, where you never know what to expect. We have Mike Land. Mike Land is in charge of something called the Free Listening Project. And we're going to find out how it started and exactly what it is. And so here we go. Okay, Mike, let's see if we can hear you. Say hello.
Hello.
Good. We're picking you up. And so we want to talk to you about the Free Listening Project. What is the Free Listening Project?
So the Free Listening Project is me on a street corner in Anywhere, USA, here in Chicago specifically, with a free listening sign. And I offer free listening, no advice, no cost, no gossip, just listening.
Okay, so what exactly is that?
So, a lot of people have things to share, and it's a lot of times, unfortunately, the people closest to them, they may not feel comfortable sharing with them, because of the nature of the relationship. And it's a chance for someone to clear themselves and share whatever needs to be shared without any judgment or interpretation.
Wow. So no advice either, huh?
That's correct. No advice.
No advice.
That's really like the pinnacle pillar of it is no advice.
Yeah. So it's sort of like counseling, but you don't do any counseling. Lend them a ear.
People can label it however they want. I mean, I label it as listening. It's free listening.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, that's really cool. So what does it mean to have you talked something about the inverse relationship between self and listening? What exactly?
So I had this big epiphany, and centered around it was I envisioned this inverse relationship between the amount of self that you bring to a conversation, to your listening, and the amount of listening that's possible. So, for instance, if you have a lot of, quote, self in the conversation, you have your judgments, your reservations, your past, your everything that makes up you, which in a lot of ways really stops people from being able to really listen just from a pure empty vessel place.
Right. Sure. Oh, yeah, because there is a certain amount of self that you bring to the table no matter what you do.
Yeah.
So give me an example. It says here, example of Calabasas, California. What
so this was just a quick example that I think really illustrates it well. So one of my listeners was he had mentioned that someone was telling a story about whatever they were talking about, and in the story they had gone through Calabasas, California. So instinctually, someone who's been to Calabasas, California, lived there would want to jump in and say, "Oh, wow, Calabasas. Where's I used to live in Calabasas. Where in Calabasas? Let's talk about that." So but really for what the person was sharing, the fact that this person had been to Calabasas really made no difference. It just didn't matter. And that's an example of how, you eliminating yourself from the equation and just listening from a pure place can really, make available full listening. So, and I really see a lot of advantages with parents. I myself am not a parent, but I can imagine having kids. I can imagine it would be difficult to listen from a place of not being a parent. So, like for instance, if your child shares something with you, I think it would be important to really listen from a place of just straight listening and not listening as a parent. And that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be a parent, but just in that space of listening, it's important to just listen from an empty place.
Right. It sure is. Boy, I got you there. So you're talking about a stranger on the bus phenomenon?
Yeah, this is there's a commitment not to gossip, so I don't
that's
share.
good.
I don't
like
share
that.
specific
That's good.
specific
Sure.
stories, obviously. But
Oh, it's sort of like confessional.
well, but I mean, we've had people come and share and say things, how they feel about certain things, like, perhaps someone had a death in the family, and then they can tell us that, hey, this person just died and I feel relieved. And, to allow that person to share something like that, something that this person might not share with a family member because they have a relation with that person, and they might not share it with a friend because of fear of judgments of, oh, wow, you feel relieved that someone in your family died. And I can totally get that. But the stranger on the bus phenomenon is you have a completely detached relationship with this person, and you can share with them whatever you feel you need to share.
Nice. Yeah, that sounds really fun. So you just do it by yourself?
Well, me and whoever else wants to listen. The people that I do it with, they're friends of mine, so I can vouch for them. But there is definitely like a pregame talk that needs to be had, not only to make sure that everyone has the same values at hand, but also because they're people too, and they need to be listened to before listening.
Wow, that's really interesting. So where are you planning on doing this free listening? Or where do you do it?
Well, I tweet. I'm going to be tweeting my location, but it's at free listening. And I'm thinking by the Water Tower, by Newberry Library, one of those, probably by the Water Tower.
Yeah, Water Tower is really nice.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful place to be this time of year.
Yeah, so you'll see me with the free listening sign, and, feel free to come up. And
you can go by there and see Mike and say, I heard you on WZRD Chicago.
Right. And, and I'm there so you can be heard.
And what are the benefits of being heard?
A lot of what I hear about is a lot of just the same stuff as whoever's listening to this is dealing with, spousal issues, domestic issues, things at work. And, just imagine for a moment that someone is really upset with their boss, and they, every time they see their boss, they feel the hairs on their neck stand up, and they just, they have this, entrenched feeling about that every time they even think of their boss, that these feelings come out. So, through listening, that person has the freedom to just let go of that. And, next time they see their boss, they can see their boss as their boss, not, all the stuff that they bring to it. It gives them a chance to be cleared out.
Sure. Yeah, you need to be able to vent. It's important to be able to vent, and it's human.
Right. And, like the no advice thing is key, because it's really not about advice. Like, all the advice that you get is interpersonal. It's all within yourself. I mean, everything that you need to know is within yourself. And through listening, that can be heard.
That's so charming. Everything you need to know is within yourself. That's really charming. I like that a lot. So where did you come up with this idea? And exactly, tell me exactly, like, where were you when you had this epiphany?